Live, guys.
Yay!
Hi.
Hello. Hi, Mom.
Well, whoever is tuned in at this point, it's been about 30 seconds, so we'll give it maybe a minute or two. But I just want to thank both of you for coming on and doing this.
Of course.
Thank you.
You're
welcome. Sorry.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of firsts for this podcast, and this isn't your first time, both of you being on the show. That's the greatest part. But it's the first time I've had two guests and the first time that I'm live streaming this show.
Hey.
So we're breaking down.
firsts.
We're breaking a lot of barriers,
Good.
to say the least. And I'm glad that I had proposed something that I wanted to do with the show, was that I wanted to, once a month, I wanted to bring back two guests and do a live stream and talk to them and kind of intermingle and put great minds together. And Bobbi messaged me and was like, yo, we need to get myself and Cathy together, episodes 1 and 2. So we'll save a little bit of face for those who are listening, that if you want to know more of their background or their stories, go back to episode 1 and 2, which was done in the middle of April.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Has it been that long?
It's crazy.
I feel like you've been very successful in a very short amount of time then.
You've really blown up.
Thank you. I
Proud of
appreciate
you.
it. It's a lot of hard work, but when you're not working,
Yeah.
I was like, I know that no one's going to outwork me. So I'm just going to, I guess, just hit everyone up as possible and see where we go from there. But to look back 5 months just to see personally what has happened to all three of us in the meantime, and to see how the world has changed over that time. There's a lot of things that have changed, and there's a lot of things that haven't changed.
Yes. Unfortunately and fortunately.
So cool. All right. It's been about 2 minutes. So thank all of you that are tuned in right now. This is on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, and the Twitter account. Make sure you guys share this so that others can see and hear their stories. Make sure you like, comment, all that fun jazz, and subscribe to the YouTube channel and all the other platforms. So here we go. We're going to do a brief 1 to 2 minute background on Bobbi and Cathy, let them explain, and then we will go into the bulk of everything that is happening. So we'll start off with Bobbi, episode number 1.
Hey.
Just give us a background of who you are and how you've been.
Okay, my name is Bobbi. I'm an ER nurse here in town. And I got COVID since we've talked and recovered, which has been crazy, which, as we were talking about, I don't think, or we probably brought it from the hospital, but whatever. Kind of been just hunkering in the house and doing that whole thing, trying to find something to keep my mind from going nuts.
Amen.
Right.
Yeah, especially from what you see, too. Literally been dealing with this for 5 months, this whole scenario.
Yeah. It's very discouraging to see some stuff said online and then go into work and see what you see. So, yeah, absolutely. It's been very heavy. I have a therapist.
Yes, girl. Yes.
Yes. Mental health.
Yeah. Mental health, I think, is one of the biggest emphasis that 2020 has taught us. Even not being at work and outside of financial is just being in solace by yourself in an apartment, in a house, it'll drive you crazy. And then if you just fixate on the news and the media, it's going to drive you even off the walls.
Unless you start a podcast. Something to do.
Or a YouTube channel.
Snaps off to that. Snaps to that. Yeah, Cathy, actually, since Cathy and I had our interview, she actually mentioned in the interview that she was going to start a YouTube channel. And since then, has gained quite amount of viewership since then. So, Cathy, tell us about yourself.
Fun. Hello, my name is Cathy Chao, also known as @NurseChao, shameless plug, on Instagram and YouTube. I am an ICU nurse here in Las Vegas, and I've known Jake since college. Crazy. We were just talking about how the last time we saw each other was like at EDC.
So long ago. So long.
5 years ago. But we won't talk about that. I'm also a nurse like Bobbi that got COVID. And how I got COVID is a patient coughed in my face. And I just all those droplets. And then I got sick myself and was out of work for 3 months. And I've been back in the ICU for the last month and a week or so. And it's been quite a journey. I, like Bobbi, was losing my mind a little bit because COVID was fucking rough, like to have it. it took me a long time to recover, but we out here, a bitch is better. So about the YouTube channel. Thank you, Jake. Yes, YouTube has been so fun. My channel is about nursing, travel, and lifestyle. Obviously, the travel section is a little lacking since we're in lockdown.
Yes.
But I have like a year's worth of like travel vlogs that I may or may not release because I feel like people don't actually like travel vlogs. So I don't know if I'm going to release it, but I will be releasing like travel tips on how to travel during COVID. I recently went to Portland and Northern California, and it was amazing. So I'm going to post some new videos coming up soon. Very soon.
Yes. You heard it here first. Yeah. That's right. Traveling is like the cliche YouTube channel because that was like that was like the first, like one of the first channels or like niches within YouTube to blow up was people like, oh, look at my life. Look, you can explore the world and with me.
Right. That's why I don't know if I want to do that right now. It's very COVID focused, very healthcare focused because people are very curious, like how is a nurse's life during COVID and all that stuff. And of course, Bobbi and I would like to provide insight, but as nurses, we can't do too much because of like HIPAA and hospital policies and whatnot. But I just feel like COVID is probably the biggest topic right now and just how to stay safe. I like to do a lot of education. So that's going to be my primary focus at the moment.
Yeah. So let's start off how you'd mentioned that you contracted COVID was that a patient coughed in your face. Correct. And I think that emphasizes the necessity to have everyone wearing masks because if he wore a mask or she probably wouldn't have contracted it because it would have helped. So was this a common case at the hospitals of people contracting it because you weren't able to put like a face shield over the patients?
So we have had some cases where nurses have been exposed to patients where we didn't know that they had COVID. Then it turns out later that they had COVID or the testing that they had was faulty because the test is not 100%, of course. And then also you're not factoring in like human error. So it's like if the tester is not testing the patient correctly, then of course the result will not be correct. So you have to look at all of their entire clinical picture. So that's what happened is the patient was not wearing a mask, was still actively coughing. I only had a very simple mask on and not like any eye protection because this patient was supposed to be clean but was not. Then that's when I got sick.
There's so much uncertainty surrounding it.
It's like that in the ER. I mean, recently we've had everybody, whether you have a cough or not.
You see the first ones before, Cathy. That's something we all should mention is that Bobbi works in the ER, so she sees everyone firsthand, and Cathy works in the ICU, and so she sees everyone on the back end.
Until they upgraded or downgraded.
Yeah.
So what's that experience like compared to how when we first talked back in April to now? I'm sure the hysteria has kind of calmed down a little bit. So kind of just touch on if there is hysteria still, what's the knowledge like behind the people who are admitting themselves into the ER? What's that experience like now?
It's a lot of when we were first talking, I felt like the ERs were pretty empty. And that was awesome because people were staying home. People weren't going out and doing dumb stuff and like making us stitch them up and literally everything. They were staying home and they were being safe. And I was not working a lot. But let me think. I want to say right when I started to go back to work, July, that's when we popped up to 1,100 cases a day.
Right after that infamous strip video of right when the strip reopened and somebody was walking through, I don't know if it was the Bellagio or Mirage or something, but not one person had a mask on of like thousands of people.
Yeah. That's not good.
So since that reemergence happened, do you think it was that people traveled to Vegas and then the workers contracted COVID and then they kind of went home and they were the ones that were being admitted into the hospitals? Or was it a lot of people who were traveling to Vegas and it was the tourists who were coming into the hospital?
So my personal experience, I saw not a lot of tourists. Okay. My hospital also isn't close to the strip, so I wouldn't see a lot of tourists. Okay. I don't think that I'm necessarily the best person to ask that one just because I don't see it.
Yeah.
But I did notice that it was a lot of just people coming in, and it was everything from they're not breathing at all to they have like a very small sniffly cough. So it was like insane. I don't think I've ever seen the ER that full, and then our hospital was completely full, and I was very scared at one point that we were going to reach that point that New York and Italy and Texas reached where they're like, okay, are you more sick than the person in front of you? Do you get it better or not? Do you live or not? I was really hoping that we wouldn't be able to play
No
God.
one wants to play that card.
Yes. And we didn't have to do that. I don't believe, at least not on the days I was there. Or if it was really bad, then it was only for a few days. And then it was kind of like, it would kind of go in waves where it was like really bad. And then it would go down, and we would kind of clear house a little bit and let more patients come in. So I feel like we were very close. That's just what I experienced.
Yeah, same.
Same? Okay.
Sure, same.
I think we came very close. It was it was scary for a minute there.
Is the ICU the same?
Oh man. Trying to get an ICU bed when it was peak COVID is like trying to get into the most poppin' club in Vegas on New Year's Eve. Like, let me make that comparison. Because like Bobbi said, like we had those days where it was pretty much max capacity. Like I know that we canceled all of our elective surgeries. We didn't allow any transfers into my hospital, which transfers from other hospitals, that gets you more money, obviously. So for a hospital to not do that, it's pretty big. And there were days where we were pretty much like at 85% capacity of the ICU, which is pretty bad and scary because those patients are there for a long time. They're on the ventilator. They're not going to go anywhere. There's nowhere else they can go. We're at the highest level of care. So it's like if we're at 85%, but we're still getting more patients in from the ER, then where are we going to put those patients? But thankfully, it didn't reach like 100% because of what they did, the canceling of the surgeries and all of that stuff. But I know that 2 weeks after Memorial Day weekend, huge spike. 2 weeks after July 4th, huge spike as well. And I know because I'm a little bit closer to the Strip than Bobbi's hospital. And we were seeing tourists, especially tourists that were saying, oh yeah, like I have COVID. I want to come to Vegas for the weekend. We're here from Arizona.
So they openly knew that they had COVID and they came here?
Then they're like, oh, my symptoms are getting worse. And so we're like, so thanks for coming here while you have COVID.
Human nature will never change.
Yes. I mean, that plus like a lot of the Strip hotels, they didn't require all of their employees to get tested prior to coming back to work. So then of course they were getting sick, and then they were getting sick from the tourists that were getting them sick. So we saw a lot of that as well.
Is it now how we stand in September? Do you guys think that we're still climbing? Has it been neutral on the way down? It's going down now?
It's gone down for sure.
Last time I checked, we were closer to 500 cases a day. I think that was 2 weeks ago.
And you guys see that respectively too through your own experiences?
Yeah, definitely.
That's good. Well, let's hope that Labor Day isn't the same.
I mean, following trends 2 weeks post Labor Day is when you would see like the Labor Day fallout, so to speak. So here's hoping people were wearing masks this weekend. Yeah,
well, Las Vegas has been in the news a lot recently, and not for the good either. It's been, it's been tagged as a cesspool. It's been tagged as a wasteland. It's been, people are saying stay away.
Yes,
and
please
now
do.
All the videos I've been seeing of fights, nobody has masks on during that and contact. It's getting a little hefty out there.
I mean, people think COVID's over, so that does make sense.
The quote, I'm over COVID. Yes, we all are, but that doesn't mean it's gone. Like, just because you're over it doesn't mean that it's over, because it's not.
It's typical American nature to be like, I'm bored of this, so it doesn't exist anymore.
Very true.
I did see that the EU now has actually, I saw an article today that they just passed America now as having more positive cases than the United States comparatively. So that would, to me, that says that they're on their way up for a second wave, which is terrifying.
Yeah, I don't want them to have a second wave, especially Italy. That broke my heart.
I know, that was so sad.
When the Italian president got on TV and was like crying for his people. Oh my God.
My heart.
The feels. The weird thing about COVID is that it morphs or it mutates in different areas of the environment, whether it's hot, whether it's colder. I was even reading that like in California has a different case of COVID than the New Yorkers had.
Yeah.
So I think that's different strains. And so it's attacking people differently. I know there's a lot of vaccines, and now we're 5 months along since we've last spoken of vaccine trials. One of my friends actually on Facebook, I just saw right before this, is that he took a vaccine, or he was part of a vaccine trial. He doesn't know if he took the placebo or the actual one.
Yeah.
But I saw him make a post, and it was cool. And I had an epidemiologist on here who's been working with COVID trials as well. He seemed pretty optimistic. But now that politics have become intertwined with COVID, it's really hard to know actually what is and what isn't.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, it's funny how America has turned this global health crisis into a political issue. I mean, people are like, well, if you wear a mask, then you're infringing upon my rights. Like, well, I mean, we're trying to mitigate a deadly virus. So I don't know about that.
Where were you raised? Like, if you don't have at least a small sense of like community with everybody around you and trying to protect them, including, I don't know, your family, you know, wear a mask. It's very simple. At least, I mean, to us it is. I don't get why you wouldn't. It doesn't make sense to me.
I mean, Bobbi touched on how Americans are like, oh, they're over COVID. And then Bobbi was saying, oh yeah, so are we. I mean, as nurses and seeing what we see, oh my gosh, it's been a fucking shit show in the hospital. And like, I know that people are tired of like wearing masks and not seeing their friends and not being able to travel. Like, I was supposed to be in Europe right now. Like, I totally get you, you know? But I was just saying that in the hospital right now, like, it's like the worst I've ever seen. Well, besides October 1st, obviously that was a different scenario, but consistently and for like a long time, the worst I've ever seen, like the sickest patients I've ever seen. Like, these patients are just so sick, and just talking to the family, like, we still have a strict no visitor like policy that's like per CDC. And so it's just been so hard on families and everybody.
It's unfortunate you can't see them, even if it is if it's their last breaths.
Yeah. I mean, if they're COVID.
It's actually a little different for us. We do let them in for the last breaths.
So you...
And like, but that's it. Like, the moments leading up to that, maybe like if we're anticipating it, like, please come say goodbye because it's going to happen. Or if you're having a baby. That's something good. That's something happy. Yeah,
we need some joy. Have you seen anything in the ICU, because you see them towards the end?
Yes.
Have any of the later in the infection symptoms from the beginning changed, as far as once they get on the ventilator and like they lose, I forget what it's called, where they just like can't breathe out their lungs, and I know that they're like filling up. Has it been consistently the same outcomes since March?
I would say that they have improved. I think that we know more about the virus, and we try to put off intubation or putting in the breathing tube at all costs. Like, we will let someone ride on the BiPAP, which is just like an oxygen device at like 100% oxygen, just praying that they will like get over the hump, because we have seen patients do that, where like if we just let them ride out at what we call happy hypoxia, which is when you're at like a lower oxygen level, but you're still like, you still know what's going on, you're still like talking, you're still able to eat. If they get over that hump, then they usually do okay and they can like leave the hospital, but it's pretty rare to get over that hump, unfortunately. But I think back in March, people were dying pretty much left and right. And now, I mean, they're still dying, but not quite as quickly.
Have you seen a transition from, I know in the beginning when we talked in April, you said that there is an abundance of obese people and people who had diabetes. Have you seen a transition to maybe a different demographic, or it's still more of the same?
No, it's still more of the same.
Really?
Yeah. I'd say most of our patients have diabetes or hypertension, or diabetes and hypertension, and some with asthma as well, of course, which makes sense.
Those are the most common underlying conditions.
Yeah, same. I'm seeing the same.
But if you're completely healthy, you can still get infected, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And you can still die. I mean, my mom is a nurse too, and she had a healthy 28-year-old pass away from COVID.
Yeah, that could have been either of us.
Yeah, absolutely. You just never know how the virus is going to react like in your system, because you can be perfectly healthy. I mean, there was a 25-year-old marathon runner in New York that was on the ventilator from COVID. And I mean, he has asthma that's induced by exercise, but I mean, that's like pretty normal. And he was still on the ventilator. I don't know the outcome of that patient story, but you could be healthy and then it could still fuck your shit up.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest taglines I see now in the news, is that since the economy obviously is taking a little bit of a dive because of the lockdowns, that they want to kind of go now more towards, where was that, Sweden or Switzerland, the herd immunity. And they're talking about just like unleashing the youth back into the wild, because the percentage of deaths for people, I think it was under like 39, is very low. It's
it's very low.
0.02% or something like that.
Yeah, it's very, very low.
So that I know that some of the politicians now, that's kind of what they've been rah-rahing for, which is, it's a little scary.
Oh, I just love being
the sacrifice.
The sacrifice. I just love it.
It's terrible. Well, let's go into each of your COVID stories.
Okay.
Because I haven't been able to speak to anyone who actually has contracted it. I've had some friends that have said they had COVID, and I've heard some horror stories, and I've heard some like lesser than stories. But to talk to you guys firsthand is awesome. So let's start with Bobbi.
Okay.
Talk to us about contracting COVID since we last talked, how it affected you and the recovery process. Is there any lasting effects, and just everything along that?
Yeah. So I got it. I was tested positive on June 4th, I think. And the day before, or I guess 2 days before, I had like a social distancing backyard thing. There were only 5 of us. We were like trying to stay away from each other, but we were like drinking a little bit. And the next day I was like, oh, I don't really feel that good. I probably drank a little too much. Whatever. I went about my day. I like wore my mask out, but I still was not feeling well and like going out of my home and going grocery shopping and stuff because that's what I had to do. And then by the end of the day, I was like, I don't think this is a hangover. This isn't going well. And then the next day I had fever, cough, nausea, diarrhea, what else? Runny nose, headache, everything.
So it felt like not just like normal flu.
No. Well, it felt like a sinus infection, except like I was shitting my brains out.
What a bad sinus infection.
Right, yeah. So I was like, this doesn't make any sense. And that lasted for like 4 days, I think. And then slowly the fever started to go away and the nausea and diarrhea and everything. But the cough wouldn't go away. I was coughing for 6 weeks afterwards. And then finally, like I think a month after I had my work said you have to have 72 hours of no symptoms before you go back in. So I had 72 hours. And I went back in and I still kind of had like occasional cough. And by then we knew that after 10 days of the initial having it, you're not really sloughing it, even if you are coughing. And that does cause a bronchitis-like cough for weeks after. And that's what I was experiencing. But what I didn't expect is how I felt like in my chest and my heart. Because as soon as I felt good enough to actually go outside, I would go for like a walk at night when it was nice and cool. And I'd walk for for a mile, and my heart rate would be in like the 140s.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Wow. It was high. And I would just like look at my watch and I'm like, oh my God, like maybe I should sit down or something. I'm just walking outside. And my heart rate's gone down. It's better. Like my resting heart rate was in the 60s. It's in the 80s right now. I'm still like working on it and doing cardio and trying to get it down. But then like just getting up and going and talking to a patient and like being in that mask, I'd be like, and like breathing, and I could feel my heart going. And it was just so much harder to do things for, I want to say I've only felt good like the past month or so. I think 2 months total it took me to recover from something that I only had a fever for and like really suffered for 5 days. And that was something that really shocked me because I don't have asthma. I don't have any underlying cause. I ran cross country in high school.
That girl, you fit.
Yeah, I'm fit. I hike all the time. I'm doing yoga. I'm doing a lot. I'm very active. Right. So it like kind of shook me a little. I'm like, oh my God, I cannot believe this thing is putting me down still. And I'm still, it's September 9th? And I still am having heart issues. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard the lasting effects. It's tough, and it lasts for like up to 6 months. I've seen some people, but the common thing I have seen is like respiratory issues.
Mm-hmm.
As far
they say the lungs are the last to heal.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That explains everything.
Yeah. I mean, like general pneumonia, that's what COVID is. COVID's pneumonia, but general pneumonia, that's not COVID. It takes a very long time for you to feel okay, even after having it. So that makes sense that I would feel that way, but I didn't feel like I had pneumonia. I was very stubborn. I didn't get a chest X-ray.
So basically, so COVID turns into pneumonia at the end, and then
like COVID
can.
is pneumonia, or I guess COVID is a type of pneumonia. That would be because at the very beginning, like everything that came out, everyone was upset because they're like, they're dying of pneumonia, not COVID. And I'm sitting over here, I'm like, it's the same thing.
Like, yeah, it's kind of
like,
the same thing.
Yeah. Did you see that report that came out? It was probably last week that only 6%, something the CDC released, that only 6% of COVID deaths actually die from COVID. Did you see that?
Yeah,
and everyone was up in arms about it, but it's that COVID, either it speeds up some underlying condition, or I guess like it turns into pneumonia, and then technically you die of pneumonia instead of COVID.
I've seen it do both. I've seen like what comes in as very obvious respiratory problems, right? And we can swab them, but it's like, come on, this is COVID. You see their labs and their X-ray, and you kind of get used to seeing a COVID patient. And we're like, all right, this is COVID. We don't need to swab them. We do, but we don't need to. We can see it very plainly. And then we have others that come in and they've only got like one symptom. And then like come to find out there's a little bit of history and like stuff like that. And then it's like, oh my God, I can't believe it's causing this much of an issue with you. It shouldn't be that much of an issue with you. You're young. Like these family histories and already pre-existing like small histories for people that are 40, 50 are being exacerbated, and they're coming in with heart attacks, and heart attack of course is what kills them, but it's COVID causing the clotting that's causing the heart attack, right? So I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, that's what
when I saw that, I was like, I don't know if I necessarily want to comment on that or like believe it.
Yeah, that's the politicizing of the virus, because then you can just use it towards whatever agenda you believe in, whether you're right or left. You're like, look, see, we can open the economy up now because it's only 6%. Like, don't worry about it. If you have something else, then you should be okay, you know? So I think that's something that has become more of an agenda based than anything. And
yeah, that's very sad.
And something too with the CDC, I've been kind of vocal about this in the beginning, is like they've been so off on their views on COVID, as well as the World Health Organization as well. And, you know, there's politics that play that as well. But it's like, we're 5 months in, we do know a little bit, but still seems like as far as the whole virus itself, we're still like so far off to know completely what it is.
It's really, even though I don't agree with some of the stuff the CDC says about reusing masks for us,
or wearing bandanas.
Yes.
Man, you guys are thugging out there?
I guess so.
All of the memes. I do think that we have to be really patient with them, because this is exactly how science works. We don't know anything about this. I mean, we can sit down, both of us, and tell you about diabetes all day long, because it's been around for years and years and years. Yeah. But COVID's been around for a couple months. And to expect us to know exactly what's going to happen for each patient and what to use, like what medication to use, I think it's a little
unrealistic.
Yeah, very unrealistic for like, I mean, you just have to have patience with it. Somebody's going to figure it out. It's going to get figured out soon.
Yeah, there's like, from what I read, I think it was like 300 just companies in America itself for trying to run vaccines. And then you see all like Russia supposedly had a vaccine, which I don't know if I trust that.
Right?
You know?
It's just got a lot of vodka in it.
Well, that'll kill it.
Hey.
Maybe we should try that treatment in the hospital.
Right?
I have
just
seen
an Everclear IV. Right.
In Soviet Russia, you do COVID, not COVID do you?
Yes.
That's correct.
Yeah, there's something too that I've seen being echoed now. I think more so with the far left, is that COVID is going to be with us forever. That I know coronavirus isn't something new. It's something that most people have had at some point in their lives. Yeah. But this is a different one, obviously, the 19 version.
Yes. Yes.
Made it legal. But do you guys get that sense at all in the hospital, or maybe the atmosphere surrounding it? Is there preparation that maybe this is going to go on for years and not just months?
I mean, I think it's going to go on for at least the next year, I would say, that it's going to be pretty bad. And I'd say after that, we'll probably get cases like here and there, but it's definitely not going to be like it's the entire hospital that has COVID. That's at least what I believe. Once we get a vaccine, of course, that's pending the vaccine.
Yeah, that's we're going to have to go the catch and trace method, which is something that we weren't able to really do. But that's something that China, I guess, did really effectively, whether you believe their numbers or not. Although they did have that pool party, kind of to just give a giant middle finger to America.
I mean, we've been giving everyone the giant middle finger just by not doing things. So I guess we kind of deserve it.
We shut off borders to everyone, and then everyone's like, "Actually, we shut on you first. Yeah. We don't want you guys back for a long time." Even Canada just extended it, I think, towards like March or something like that. Yeah, till like late or early next year.
Yeah, we shouldn't be. We're like in timeout. You stay over there.
Yeah, we're on the naughty list for sure.
Yes.
All right, Cathy, tell us your
COVID story.
Yeah, your COVID story. I know I saw some videos on YouTube. I saw some posts, and I know yours was a little bit more prolonged and took you a little while to actually go back to work.
So from what I was told by my employee health nurse, that of course like sees all of the employees in my hospital and sees who gets COVID and who doesn't, she was saying that in the earlier stages that it was pretty bad, and it's kind of like lessened since then. So I got sick on May 7th, my birthday. To all my Taurus babes out there.
Oh no.
Yeah, I tested positive during Nurses Week too, so double whammy.
You're right, that was
fantastic. And she was saying that the people that got sick in like March or April, they had it really bad. And then like for May, bad, but not as bad as previously. Then my friend got sick in June and was not as sick as I was. So it seems like it kind of like not thins out, but I mean, just a little bit different in how we were reacting overall.
Maybe
I'm sure that has something to do with the viral load, because they say that, right? I've heard, at least, it really depends on the viral load. So if someone has a large viral load and coughs on you versus like someone that has a lesser viral load, like you'll get more or less sick.
Right.
So it's like
maybe that what happened.
Probably.
Like if it's thinning.
So it like degrades the more times that it transfers to a new host. To a new host.
I have no
That
idea,
makes
to be
sense.
honest.
Makes sense. I mean, you know, it's just like, I mean, this is going to be a bad example, but it's like when you play telephone with your friends. You know, you ever said that? Where you all sit around in a circle and you say something, and by the end, you have no idea what it is.
Oh, yeah, you're like
good example.
It just degrades over time
Mm-hmm.
into something that's probably not non-existent.
Right.
Let's hope so.
But you're right. I made a few videos on it. I made videos about my COVID journey, like me getting tested. I have so many videos of a swab going up my nose. So if you want to see that, go to my channel.
Wow. How is that?
So uncomfortable. I've been swabbed like 6-7 times or something. I can't remember. It's a lot. It's like a
swabbed 2 times, and that was horrible. I was crying.
Oh my God. It's nasopharyngeal. So that shit was all the way to like my fucking brain, like something crazy. So yeah, very uncomfortable. I'm glad that that's over with, hopefully. And I made a few posts on my Instagram because I've just been very vocal about it, just because there are so many misconceptions that young people cannot get sick and that you can't have it that bad. And I think it's just because people think that just because you don't die, and there are not a lot of young people dying from it, that's not going to be that bad. But I mean, this thing knocked me on my ass for 3 months, and I've been back at work for a month and a half, and I'm still not fully 100%, which is like, it's September, like Bobbi said. Like, what the hell? Like, how come something that's a virus is making me this sick when I'm 27 and I'm pretty healthy? Like, I ain't no fit ass bitch like Bobbi. Girl, yo, bod poppin'. Mine's not quite there, but like, I do okay. You know, like, I take walks. Like, I lift.
I go on walks.
Yeah, I walk. That's a thing. But yeah, I lost my sense of taste and smell. And that should have been my first like inkling that this was COVID, but I was really stubborn and I was like, okay, other things exist besides COVID. I'm like, COVID's not the only virus around. Okay. Like this could be something else. It could be just like a cold, or like the seasons were changing. And so sometimes like that messes up my system, you know? So I like didn't feel good for like a few days, and I got better. I was like, oh, like I'm fine. Like I'm fine. And then I got chills, body aches, fever. I was pale. I was like diaphoretic at work. My friend, she was like, you look pale and like you feel like really hot. I was like, no, I don't. And she's like, yeah, bitch, you do. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's not good. Then we were coding my patient who cardiac arrested, and I'm in full on like a PAPR, N95 under it, mask, like sweating buckets. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to pass out. I think I need to be coded. Like, I think it's me. Like my patient came back, but I think it's my turn next, guys. Okay. So then I went to employee health, got tested, and they're like the next day, like, yeah, bitch, you have COVID. And I was like, oh shit. Okay. Well, that makes sense. So on my birthday dinner, just me and my mom's wearing an N95. I didn't even blow out my candle. I took like a piece of paper and I like fanned it. I was like, I'm gonna make a wish that this shit's gonna go away. Couldn't taste anything, was just in bed for forever and had really bad dizziness that lasted for so long. Even going to my doctor's appointments, I couldn't drive longer than 20 minutes without having a dizzy spell. So I'd have to pull over, wait for the spell to disappear, and then resume driving, which, you know, sucked. And had headaches that were really bad that I like couldn't even leave my bed for like hours on end because the headaches were that bad. And then I was really fatigued all of the time. Like I would take like a 30-minute walk, try to like exercise, move my body, and then just be completely exhausted by the end that I would have to lie down and go to sleep like a narcoleptic, like exhausted. Yeah. And so then take all of that, finally getting better, and then I go back into work, which a nurse's job is already tough, especially as an ICU nurse working in the designated COVID unit for my hospital, in a huge hospital that's super busy all of the time. And so it was really hard going back to work, and I couldn't even do chest compressions for like the first like few weeks. I just told my coworkers, I'm like, I'm gonna try to save this patient. If my patient codes, I'm gonna need someone else to do the compression.
Someone else needs to hop up there.
Exactly, because I just will not be effective, and then it's just not gonna go well. So my coworkers were super great, very helpful in just trying to like accommodate me and like my physical needs and all that stuff. but I couldn't even work 3 12-hour shifts in a row for the first few weeks because I was just too tired.
And the hospitals are accommodating of that?
I mean, my manager worked with me in moving my schedule around and was super great about it. So thankfully they were good. But I saw my doctor and I had my labs drawn, and my liver enzymes are about 5 times my baseline, like 5 times my normal. So yeah, and I don't drink like at all. So
what is that?
Are they still the same?
So I'm getting retested in like a month or so.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Yeah.
We're talking the nurse lingo. Jake doesn't know. Okay.
Like, should I be concerned?
So, I mean, I have like my normal liver enzyme levels, which are like very, very low. Like they're like pristine. Like any donor would be like, ooh, girl, can I hit that liver? You know?
Yes.
But now because of COVID, like I've sustained some like liver damage, but the liver is regenerative. So my primary is not super worried about it. It's like common that after viruses that you'll have some like elevated liver enzymes and all that stuff. As long as it goes down, that's what's important is like, does it go down? But then if it doesn't, I'll have to like get an ultrasound of my liver and kind of see what else is up. But I was really stubborn too. And I did not get a chest x-ray or anything like that. I probably should have, but I was honestly afraid.
Same.
I was like, I don't want to know because it's just going to freak me out.
If it's worse than you thought.
Exactly. Because I still get short of breath like on exertion and like I'll be wearing an N95 walking around the ICU. If it's too fast, I have to sit down and I'm just like silently. So my coworkers aren't just like, are you okay?
You're dying over there?
Do you need to go to the ER? It's like, no, I'm fine.
Wow. Well, something that I have noticed is the camaraderie of the hospitals and the nurses that have been very supportive of each other. Even your guys' stories and even on social media I've seen. I know you appeared on a few shows. Bobbi's appeared on a few shows. People are just trying to help any way that they can and share the information, which is really cool because I know that nurses are very overutilized and underappreciated.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, and I agree.
Yes, from what I hear, 12-hour shifts, that common for you guys?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Do you ever go over?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like working more or like the shift is longer?
The shifts like longer shifts?
Like 14, 15.
How do you do that?
As long as my charge nurse lets me eat, then I can keep going.
Is it the adrenaline of just the commotion that's happening during?
Sometimes
during
for me
the
it
shift?
is. I mean, in the ER, if we're like getting code after code coming in, and I'm like, I'm done for the day, and I'm looking around, I'm like, you want me to stay? Like, this doesn't look so good. Do you want me to stay? They're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go eat, and I'm gonna come back, and you can have me for another 4 hours. That's it. Then I have to go home. I have to draw the line at 16 hours, I think, by law.
Yeah, by law. 16 is the max. I've tested this.
Yeah.
A bitch likes overtime, but also because...
Yeah, true.
Yes, girl, yes.
Well, one thing I'm curious about, obviously COVID has taken the world by storm, but are there other sicknesses, illnesses, injuries that are coming into the hospital? I know flu season's right around the corner. Does flu still happen? Like, are there other things still happening?
I mean, probably.
People are saying that this is going to be flu-rona.
Yeah.
Flu and corona coinciding at the same time.
Like, don't make me cry. I don't even want to think about it. I just don't like that. When I was explaining earlier that moment when I'm sitting in the ER and seeing us slowly fill up and slowly looking around and thinking, oh my God, are we going to have enough beds? That having the flu on top of corona, like, I'm afraid that's going to happen again.
That seems like a sick joke.
It's going to be a shit show.
It is. It's someone's looking down and laughing. Like, oh, you think you're done? No.
Gonna combine it.
Bitch, you wait. Yeah. Honestly.
Yeah.
I'm nervous that's going to happen, but I mean, it's inevitable because flu season is going to happen regardless. But because people are distance learning and not in the office, perhaps like our flu rates will be down.
Let's hope.
But then also we have COVID on top of that. So then it's not like we're going to have a chill winter season. Every year without fail, the ICU is packed. The ER is packed, like filled with all kinds of respiratory illnesses. That just is what happens. It exacerbates in the wintertime. And now with flu and COVID, everyone's nervous. That's just going to be the worst winter that we've ever seen, which is honestly likely to happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Last flu season was terrible.
It was
so bad. So bad. I can't even imagine.
I mean, like, think about it. She just said that our ERs are packed and our ICUs are packed. That's just with flu. And then you put Rona, like a high Rona spike on top of that.
Yeah,
it's going to be New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, I caught the flu for the first time last winter. I was terrible. I was shaking. I was laying in the bed, could not move. I stood up and tried to make eggs. I couldn't do it. I was
not the eggs.
Yeah. couldn't eat. Barely ate for 2 days. I was like, I don't know what this is. There's people that spectate maybe coronavirus was being passed around earlier than we expected, because it was something that I had never felt before in my entire life. Also loss of a little bit of a loss of taste, but that didn't come before being sick. That came after I was already
that makes
sick.
sense. I mean, is your nose all stuffed up?
Yeah. I was hyperventilating. I used to get really bad bronchitis every winter when I was younger, and it really reminded me of that. I was like, fuck, I might have to go to the hospital if this doesn't get any better. But I ended up getting flu medication and recovering. It passed after 24 hours.
And you could make the eggs.
Took a little bit. Your boy lost some weight though. It was a little rough. But then seeing how COVID transgressed into America, starting, I remember at work hearing people say that they lost their sense of taste and smell back in January. And they were just like, oh, maybe it's just a sickness. I don't know what that feeling would even be like. It's so weird, just being functional but couldn't taste or smell anything.
It's weird.
It's
freaking weird.
I've heard it's very weird.
It's
just
weird.
texture.
And it takes a long time to come back to you. And I love food. I don't know how I'm not Yelp Elite yet. I love food. It was really hard for me. But eventually came back 3 weeks later.
You're a Yelp elitist?
I'm not. I wish. I'm just too lazy to check in and write a review. I'm just there for the food, I'll take some pics for the gram, but besides that.
Yeah, our poor restaurants are taking a hit now. It sucks. There's actually right outside on Main Street where I live, there's a lot of restaurants that have been doing outdoor dining.
Oh, good.
Which is pretty cool. Now that's cool today. Tomorrow will probably be 120 degrees again. But
Colorado was like that. I don't know if you've seen the pictures or whatever of the restaurant pulling out their dining and putting it in the road so it could be outside and stuff. But Colorado had their Rhino district, some of it crossed off, and it was all outside with canopies and stuff like that. So it could be outside and not stuffed inside.
Right. I know New York is doing that. They have outdoor dining, I think only.
Yeah. They've actually banned indoor dining, I think, until next year, which has pissed a lot of people off.
Got hit hard. So it kind of makes sense, but that also really sucks for business.
They had that. They kind of did the Sweden method, where they just kind of took a little bit more fatalities in the beginning, and then it just lessened and evened out towards the end, which is, retrospectively looking at things, it's easier to be like, oh, that should have been the method that we went, because there's something that I've tweeted a few times that, I thought Governor Sisolak's done a really good job following the numbers, following the health critics. He did everything right by the book and still ended up with worst case scenario, which is unfortunate.
I mean, Las Vegas though.
Yeah.
We reopened the Strip. I mean, I think that's inevitable, right?
I feel you can say what you will about Sisolak, but people need to remember that, the Strip's got him by the balls. But they have the entire city by the balls. Who do you think pays for the schools to stay open? Who do you think pays for the water district and stuff like that? That's the casinos. They have the whole city by the balls. So having to fight to keep it open or not keep it open, and whose opinion is right, you have to remember where the money comes from. And that's
the politics at the end of the day.
Right. I mean, New York, of course, is a huge travel destination, but they lock their shit down. They you can't even enter. We can't go because our COVID rates are too high. We don't have such a rule. So we accept anybody. We have people that come here, even though they have COVID, they know they have COVID, and they'll come here anyway because they want to gamble, they want to have fun, they want to return back to normal life. Whereas New York is you are not going to enter this state because we got hit so badly and we're not taking any chances. So, I mean, Sisolak has done such a great job, in my opinion.
Yeah, same.
But there's only so much he can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's at the end of the day, unfortunately, the money dictates where it's going.
Yeah,
and that's something now that Trump's kind of been holding over their head, where his method was he's going to let the states dictate their procedures for COVID, which now today, I don't know if you guys heard, but there was a tape that came out that he was very aware of how deadly it was and that it was transmissible in the air. And so, you could spectate and say maybe he knew about this, so that's why he let the states do it. And now
like shifting blame,
like shifting
Okay.
blame, and now he's withholding state like the new stimulus package. Pelosi wants to bail out the states with a lot of money, and he's like, literally in the interview, he's like, I don't want to bail out all of these Democratic run states for their practices and how they decided to quote unquote badly run their economy into the ground. And so that's where you see now it's like that's that standstill with the stimulus negotiations.
I'm sorry, but Michigan and Texas got hit really hard, and are those not red states?
Yeah, didn't you see that all the southern states were getting like huge explosions towards the end of summer? Huge.
I mean, if you need a stimulus, then you need it. Like, it shouldn't matter if you're red or blue.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Yeah. That's why it's become so politicized. It's all there's a lot of people I've seen even in interviews of
Just pull my hair out.
Yeah, I've seen it in a lot of interviews of different famous podcasters where they're like, probably after November 4th, probably everything will go back to normal. But COVID is still going to be here.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's still a virus. And, I pray for the best. And, the mail-in voting and the in-person voting, it's like, who really knows what's going on? All we know is you have to protect yourself.
I'm going to do my duty and I'm going to vote.
Yeah.
That's the best I can do.
Yeah, it's the best you could do. Silent vote. And, I'll throw this in there. Buy Bitcoin and opt out of the system. I got to do it. People who are watching, if you're a Bitcoin fan, please comment there because you knew that it was going to come at some point in here. That I was gonna throw it in there. But as far as protecting ourselves, is there any new procedures that have come down the pipeline outside of wearing masks to, mitigate the spread of COVID?
I think that if you want to be extra cautious, you can wear a mask and then also wear some kind of like goggle eyewear type thing.
Why does it get transferred into the eyes?
Well,
they're coming there. My work wife and I were talking about this, and we're thinking that possibly there's going to be like a new contact precaution after this, that it's going to be or a precaution. So the way that we describe it in the hospital is if it's contact, droplet, or airborne, very straightforward. Droplet is like a spit droplet on you, and you.
That's Cathy felt that.
Yes, she felt the spit droplet. Same with contact if you touch or something like that. But it's like kind of up in the air that it's like droplet and airborne, so a little bit of both. So if someone's talking to you and doesn't have a mask on, and you have a mask on, that's cool. You're protecting your face, but then you're not protecting your eyes and everywhere else that those spit droplets can land. And then you're like, oh, I'm gonna rub my eye, and then I'm gonna lick my finger. I'm gonna eat some chicken wings. I don't know, but like that's the same way the flu is spread. If you're touching a doorknob or shake a hand,
you
like
touch
that
your
whole
face
thing.
and your eye. That's why they say don't touch your face, right?
Yeah.
That's inclusive of your eyes.
Yes.
And people are actually saying that, oh, Cathy, you're wearing a mask, and even though the patient coughed in your face, theoretically you're supposed to be protected. Although I was wearing a simple mask and not an N95, which would protect you against like airborne pathogens, right? They're saying that if it's droplet, that it probably entered my eyes, that the patient coughed in my face and the droplets went into my eyes, and then that's how I got sick.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. So I would say if you want to be extra cautious, like if you're flying, wear like a face shield. Like I'm sure you'll see those face shields, but don't wear just that. You need to wear a mask as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
A two-way mask system.
And if you can get your hands on a surgical mask over a cloth mask, because I know
Definitely
they come in big boxes at Costco. I've seen them in like 100 boxes. I saw a study done recently that they did no mask, 1 piece of cloth, 2 pieces of cloth, and surgical. And they did like those photos where it's like profile, and you get to see the spit droplets come out. And the surgical mask did the best job of keeping it to the person. So, if anything, like a surgical mask over a regular mask or a bandana.
According to the CDC.
Yeah.
I'm just going to wear a military outfit at some point and just cover everything up.
Yeah.
Do it. I want a bunny suit, the one that zips all the way to your neck. Oh,
Yep.
Down, so down.
Yep.
You think work will approve that?
Actually, some of my coworkers like have gotten their own PPE, and
Yeah.
we're
Which
allowed
is kind of sad, but yes.
Yes.
You got to bring some cheer at least, and it's probably comfy a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, if
No.
they
And it helps,
feel
no?
if they feel protected, then I think that's what's important, right?
Huh.
Because you just don't know who has COVID, who doesn't. Like, I don't trust basically anyone that comes into the hospital. Even if they test negative, I will still take precautions and wear goggles and N95.
Yeah, what's going on with the asymptomatic people? I saw the World Health Organization literally flip-flop back forth on it like 3 times in the matter of like a week. Mm-hmm. So is the asymptomatic thing still the primary method of spreading the virus? Do we know? Has there been any insight on that?
I don't know well enough, to be honest.
They still don't know?
Because, I mean, just like the WHO flip-flopping, like that's where we would get a lot of our information from, seeing it ourselves and from larger organizations like that. And I personally have not seen, like, is it something to sincerely be worried about or not? I mean, we could all just wear a mask and pretend like it is, so that way
I mean, I think we should still just be like worried about it, but are they the super spreaders? I don't know about that. And of course, Bobbi and I see people that are symptomatic only.
Yes.
So, yeah, we don't see anybody that's asymptomatic, so we wouldn't really know. Are they out there spreading it? I mean, they could be, right?
Mm-hmm. It's a possibility.
Yeah.
Let's freaking hope not.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it comes down to the viral load I was talking about earlier too. If you're asymptomatic, you don't have a very large viral load. Or I wouldn't think you would.
They were also saying that if you're an asymptomatic carrier and say you, of course, have positive antibodies, right? If you had actual symptoms that manifested, they're saying that your antibodies will last longer and be more protective than someone that didn't manifest any.
We got some good ones then.
Yes.
Yeah, can you guys explain to me the antibody thing? I've seen a bunch of people talk about getting an antibody test. Does that just show that you've had it before? When, like, if you have more antibodies or less, what's the meaning behind that?
So with antibodies, it's saying that your system was exposed to the virus and has now produced antibodies to like fight your system for it to fight it, right? So then if you have positive for antibodies, then that means that you have likely had it, or you could be an asymptomatic carrier, which means that you still had it, right? I don't know how you can see like the level of the antibodies that you have. I'm sure you could do that in like some kind of lab or something. Mm-hmm. That's not information that I'm privy to know about like myself. I have been told that we have seen our first reinfection, and that was in Nevada, and that one of the providers was saying that you can see reinfection in as early as 3 months post having COVID.
Really?
Which is really scary, because I was having a lot of anxiety about going back to work, of course. Like when you know that you got sick from a patient and going back to work where you got the virus in the first place that made you so sick. It's the sickest I've ever been in my life. I was scared, obviously. And so knowing that I can get sick again, because at first I was like, okay, a girl has antibodies. Like I can come back in the ICU. Like it's okay. Yes. And then now it's like, oh, maybe not so much. So let me put my mask back on.
Yeah.
So both of you have been tested for antibodies?
Mm-hmm. Well, I have.
Yeah. And they're higher.
Well,
they're present. They're present.
They're present.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where can you get antibody tests?
I know LVAC was doing it for a bit. If you're an LVAC member, I think you'd probably do it at your doctor's office. That's where I did mine.
Yeah, I got a what's the word I want? Referral from my doctor. I like telehealthed him and I was like, hey, I had COVID. I want this test. Like I wasn't like listing the things that we do in the ER. I'm like, I want to check on my kidneys. Like we need to check on all these things. And he goes, okay, anything else? And I go, oh yeah, and this. And like,
yeah, nurses are the best patients.
Yeah, right?
That's
why we didn't get x-rays.
I haven't gotten an antibody test yet because at one point I'm like, all right, if I go get it and I don't have antibodies, then I'm like, all right, that's good because I've been infected. But then if I go and do have antibodies, then I'm like, okay, I had it and I probably spread it around without knowing, and that's terrible.
That'd probably make you feel like shit.
Yeah, exactly.
See, I actually don't recommend the general public gets an antibody test unless they've been tested positive or they had symptoms.
Do you think it'll cause hysteria, or do you think it's a waste of resources?
I don't think it's not
a waste
necessary.
Of resources. Yeah. I do think it's a waste of resources. Because if you're like, I don't know, maybe, okay, why would you get it then? Like, because then you're on this fence of, okay, cool, I've got the antibodies for a little bit. I don't know how long, or you don't have it, and then you're scared that you're able to get it. Like, there's
and
no
you don't
point.
know when you got it either. So it's like, oh, you had it. Okay, but when? So then I don't even have antibodies. Like, that will even protect me for that much longer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's scary. So I guess I'll opt out of this for now. We'll say I'm safe. I felt really sick before we had closed the nightclub, but I wasn't really sure about it. It felt like just like a little bit of a sore throat, but I went and bought a thermometer and I was tested, and it was below, was that 98.3?
No.
Or no, 98. What is
that's
it?
Good. 98.6
is the normal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sorry.
I remember. Yeah, it was below 98.6, and I was like, all right, well, if I have a fever, then I'll call out of work. And the fever never came. And then you learn like, oh, you don't have to have a fever.
Right.
Just like, shit, I don't know what's going on anymore.
Yeah. I mean, mine started with, I feel a little like maybe I'm hungover, headache, nausea. That was it. And then, so.
You know, I just.
Literally.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. How could I forget?
I just like, it's been 6 months now since this COVID thing has happened, and obviously we miss normal life. I really miss music festivals. I've been having that crave. I saw that Coachella, they're resizing down to like 100,000 people instead of 140 in April. So it makes me wonder how feasible that's actually going to be if that happens.
Is everyone going to have like a 6-foot hula hoop around them that they have to wear?
Have you seen that
bumpers?
Have you seen that socially distanced festival they did in Europe where there was like there's 4 seats and boxes throughout the whole stage?
Oh,
yes,
cool.
I've seen the parking lot ones as well. I'm very interested to see like in the area, was there a spike of cases after something like that? Like, was it successful? Because if you go with a group of friends and you're just in there, like maybe you can spread it within the group of friends, but you're distanced and you're not near other people. So like, how effective is that? I would assume relatively.
Yeah, it's the things you see with the drive-ins. I know stand-up comedy has been going down that route, and you saw the thing that happened with the Chainsmokers in New York, and that was
I didn't. No.
There was an event that happened with the Chainsmokers. I think it was New York back in the middle of summer, and everyone ended up getting out of their cars and going up to the railing, and yeah, it was bad. Chainsmokers got a lot of flack for it, saying like people were claiming that the Chainsmokers told them to get out of their cars, and like people were saying no, they got out of it, and so it's like, who really knows? I saw an article that Sisolak and the health district shut down proposals for drive-in events because of that specific reason, citing that there's not good evidence saying that it's safe, even though it's 4 people in a car. But as we've learned, trying to govern humans, it's very tough.
Especially Americans.
Yeah, the freedom of speech and the freedom to wear a mask or not, it's something you think people would understand.
Right, that's why we're in timeout.
We've come full circle.
Full circle, yeah. When we'll get festivals back, I don't know. When Vegas will come back, I don't know. Something I do want to, we've been ragging kind of on Vegas, but I do want to say that their protocols have been getting significantly better over time. I went on a bike ride the other day and rode through Fremont Street, and almost everyone there was wearing masks. There was actually a bunch of people out there, which is, a little concerning, but from everyone I saw, there were masks on, and now there's like a gate on Fremont Street that you have to walk through with security there, and you have to be wearing a mask to get in. So
good.
That's awesome.
That's good.
I mean, like the fact that after we had like a large amount of spikes, Sisolak turned around and said, okay, no bars.
Yeah, that we went in reverse, I think, kind of.
Well, I mean, like he was like, all right, I need to try something so that we can get this to go back down, because it's a great point. Like at a bar, you're talking and mingling and drinking and everywhere. So, and like you get your droplets on eyeballs. So it's not, it makes sense why we did that specifically. It sucks for small businesses, but I mean, like you can't win. I really don't feel like you can win. If you try to protect everybody, then it hurts the economy. If you open the economy, it hurts everybody.
It's a double-edged sword.
It is.
You can't win. That you can't win.
Like
when Sisolak came out with the 4 phases, like we haven't even been able to get past 2. We even went back to 1.5. We went back to 1.5.
Yeah.
It's like I don't even know what falls under phase 3. Like it's like a whole new world. A whole new world. And phase 4, unfortunately, is nightclubs and large-scale events. Now we see like Vegas has taken even larger hit with some of the conventions. Have you seen are now leaving?
Yeah, we lost the
rodeo. The rodeo, which I saw has a $200 million economic impact.
Wow,
which sucks. I think when CES canceled, that was kind of like
that was
shit.
Really
You're
big.
like, oh fuck, like that's bad. Yeah. I've been kind of following along what the tech companies have been doing. They seem to be very far ahead. I don't know if they have insider information. Maybe they do, or maybe they just have common sense. But Google specifically said that they're not bringing back any of their employees from remote work until June of 2021.
That makes
Wow.
sense.
So
They've got some bot in the corner that's constantly tracking like where it is, and that's what it's doing, right?
I mean,
that's
they're
why
constantly
the
tracking
tech guys,
us. So.
right? Yeah, right. On our phones, and they're going to put trackers in the vaccines and all that.
They're worse than TikTok is. But at least it's American, right? Yeah, so if we're shooting for June 2021, then Vegas is gonna hurt. We're gonna have to innovate somehow. How? I don't know, because something that I've echoed in the podcast that we were like, it felt like Vegas was building off of tourism. Like we had the Golden Knights had come.
Mm-hmm.
We had the Raiders were coming. There's like different industries that were starting to emerge. I started seeing more financial companies start to come in, which depending on your morals and values, if you like financial companies,
tech companies with it.
Yeah, tech companies with it. It's like
it's supposed to, at least. Yeah,
just wrecking everyone's financial future. Kind of sucks, but I hope that we find something, man. I miss Vegas.
I think we will. I mean, I think if anything, Vegas has proven how resilient our city is. Mm-hmm. So we have seen a lot of tough times, but we've come out stronger every single time.
Yeah, October 1.
Yeah.
If you guys want to hear Cathy's October 1 shooting, go to episode 2.
Yes.
Shameless plug. To go back in time. What I am interested, though, as to what are the main differences morally and I guess just in the atmosphere in your respective hospitals. Is there more positivity? Is there more concern going forward? Just kind of how what's the atmosphere in the hospitals like now?
I think that it's been better because I know that when we were inundated with COVID cases, that everyone's super stressed out, everyone's overworked, we don't have enough staff to keep up with the demand of how many patients we had. So then, of course, stress levels high, patients are just cardiac arresting left and right, which, of course, that just means that their heart is stopping, which is really scary. And we're used to that, but not all of our patients at the same time. I know that I've seen, like, the mortuaries come in once every day that I've been working, sometimes a few times in a day. So, of course, when you're seeing your patients pass away, and it's patients that normally would not pass away, but it's because of this virus that you're seeing younger people in their 40s, 50s dying. And as a healthcare worker, our job is to help people and to help save them. And, of course, when they come to the ICU, they're kind of already the sickest that they'll ever be. And so it's very hard to bring someone back from that. But usually we do a pretty good job about doing so. And to see people so young passing away, it's really, really hard on your soul. It's really hard on your heart, and to hear these stories and to be in communication with these family members and trying to, use the iPad to FaceTime, because we don't allow visitors in with COVID, and even when they're dying, and trying to describe, their clinical picture so that they'll understand why they're so sick. And still, they're like, I don't get why they're so sick. I was just talking to them a few days ago, and now they're on a ventilator, and now you're saying that they can't come off. It's hard to have those conversations. And so having so many of those conversations every single day for days on end with all of your patients, it's really hard, because we put our heart and soul into our work. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to not get emotionally attached to patients, and of course to family members as well, when they're crying on the phone and you're trying to separate your emotions from doing your job. Because if your emotions are are controlling you too much, then you can't do your job effectively. So it's been hard. I would say that now it's a little bit better because, of course, the workload is less. Yeah. There are fewer patients in the hospital in general. There are fewer patients that are COVID. And so we have enough staff, thankfully. So it's more like a true summer, because in the hospital, summers are typically when we have a lower census. Then in the winter, like we talked about earlier, it just booms. It just explodes. So I think this, unfortunately, is the calm before the storm, is what I'm thinking. Is it's dipped down now, and we're having this sense of oh yay, it's getting slightly back to normal. But I think it's just
flu will
a little break,
its ugly head.
Exactly, until it gets pretty bad again.
How about in the ER? Is it more of the same or a little less?
I think that in the ER we have to adapt, because I feel like there's a huge difference in that respect with ICU and ER, is that when they get up to the ICU, it's okay, they're on a ventilator and this is going on. This is their history. This is what we found out. But when they come in through the ER, it's, you're not breathing. okay, like
yeah,
let's
you
go.
probably see a lot of panic in there. Like
Yes. Well, actually, with the nurses, no. Like this is.
I meant from the patients and people that are coming in.
Yeah, definitely. They're like, what's going on? But adjusting and being adaptable is very important, I feel like, down there. And now that we have adjusted, it's almost like, oh, another one? Okay. Like, it's so, like, I feel like jaded isn't the right word I'm looking for.
You're just not fazed by it.
Yeah, we're not very fazed by it anymore. So, I mean, we still care and we still do our job and like we would any other day, but it feels like numb. It doesn't hurt us that much unless it's a young one that'll really get us. Because like, I mean, usually when it's an older patient, it's a little bit easier to accept, or if they're very sick already, it's easier to accept. But when those young ones, they really hurt. And then I've noticed, I think it's very similar to how like people are over COVID. At the very beginning, it was stressful as heck. Like, oh my God, what are we going to do? How are we going to keep everyone safe? How are we going to keep ourselves safe? How are we going to keep our own families that we go home to safe? Right. And then the community was like at 7:00, you would see those videos in New York of people honking and cheering and stuff like that. And people would bring food to the hospital and stuff like that. But then as COVID became not popular, that kind of faded away. And we're still working really hard. Yeah. And as this started to happen, I would tell people on my Instagram, I'm like, hey, I'm accepting donations. Please just send me some money on Venmo. I'm going to buy like lunch for whatever, because I cannot pay to feed the entire ER by myself. Right. But I was able to do that about 3 times, and I haven't been able to do that. Not a lot of people have been sending donations, but I'm like, I really feel like it would be helpful, especially after we've had such a huge wave. Yeah. If we I don't know, if the community rallied behind us again. Not that I'm sitting here like wanting that attention. I don't want it to seem like that. Yeah. But like, I see it in my fellow nurses. We're tired. Like, we are also tired of COVID. And I feel like maybe a little forgotten about.
Absolutely.
Like, we're still fighting this.
Yeah. First line.
Y'all are out there arguing about masks, and we're still fighting it.
Yeah, it's tough. So best way is to just donate, reach out to your local nurse friends, just find out different ways.
The same way, like the cute chalk markings on the sidewalk have faded away. And like, I remember seeing like how my coworkers would light up when we had support from the community. And now that that's gone, I'm like, I don't see it from them anymore. It's not me wanting it. It's like me wanting it for them. Yeah. Because like when we get like little notes written on like the side of Starbucks, like the big Starbucks things, like there would be like, thank you so much, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it feels so good.
Yeah, the energy was so strong in the beginning.
The energy was so strong in the beginning, and there was so much love, and now it's gone. And I'm like, damn, I really want to see that for my coworkers and like see them light up again, and like know that other people care about what they're doing instead of just being out there arguing about masks.
I feel like we would need that now more than ever, actually, because it's been so long that we've been at this for so long, and everyone's tired. And I know that a lot of my coworkers and people in the hospital in general have been having some like mental issues and just like being more depressed, even in their normal lives, just because of what they see every day. Like, you can't even believe how much that wears like on your heart and how stressed out you are like at the hospital, but then when you go home, it's hard to like flip the switch.
So it's a lot more like mental and emotional strain.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously,
it's
like
still
you work,
physical.
You work long shifts, so that is physically draining. Yeah. But the elongation and prolonged period just becomes emotionally difficult. Yeah. Have the hospitals like assisted in any way as far as like offering like therapeutic services or therapy or someone to talk to?
Yeah, I think we do have some free like counseling services if we wanted to.
They have those available. I think my work provides like 3 free sessions, and you can get that at any time. It was there before COVID.
Okay.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That
is good. Yeah. Like we said right in the beginning, it's the mental strain is tough on everyone. Just being locked away. All the different things in society are being broken that, you know, maybe should have or maybe shouldn't have. And I think one's routine is broken too. And trying to figure out a new routine, it causes a lot of chaos and confusion, because you're like, shit, this is my new life. Like, I don't know if I like this, or maybe you do. You know, it's like
I don't like this new life.
No, I'm not a glutton for pain. No.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah. I hope I know the community is definitely behind you guys, but it's just as a human society, we get sidetracked so fast between what's going on, and obviously the polarizing nature of politics divides people, and that makes it even more difficult to support, because just like with October 1 or any sort of disaster, everyone, no matter what your belief is, comes in and is helping and working together. And it's such a beautiful sight to see.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, I know Bobbi is saying that we're not asking for like attention or for people
to
like,
just even just acknowledgement, anything simple like that you do through social media, letters.
Yeah, it's more like for, I don't know, it's for morale. Cause I saw morale dip, and then it went back up, and then it's like, it's leveling out. But seeing that, and I know that even like after all of the like stuff went away from people, we're still, I feel very alienated.
Oh, definitely.
As a nurse as well.
Like a pariah.
Yeah.
Alienated as far as in the hospital itself or from society?
No, well, obviously, I mean, we're all mixing in the hospital, but like
from society,
my own mom like took a step away from me, and it like
hurts.
Yeah. I'm like, Mom, I'm not, like, please don't do that.
Yeah.
And like, I know that some people, like one of my coworkers was saying that her friend texted her and was like, I saw you a couple days ago. You gave me COVID.
Oh.
And she's like, no, I didn't. Like, I don't have it. What do you mean? It was like blaming her just because she works at a hospital. Right. And like, it's hard. It's still going on. Like that was going on a lot at the beginning. Like nurses were getting kicked out of their homes and
things thrown at them.
Yeah, like Lysol sprayed. Like a nurse was assaulted and Lysol sprayed at a gas station, I think, when this first happened, because he was like, well, I don't know.
You're dirty, you're spreading COVID is what their thought process was.
Yeah. So when like you go home and your friends don't want to be near you and your mom takes a step away from you, and then you don't hear anything from the community anymore, and you're just
and the work is hard.
And you're just like, this is
terrible.
Cool. I'm just like, I'm getting stabbed in the front and the back. That's cool. Like
from all sides.
That's even more isolation than just like, a typical civilian who has a job and now is unemployed like myself, and I just like hide away in the corner. But once you have your friends socially and mentally and emotionally distancing themselves from you too, it's like, who do you turn to?
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, Bobbi and I both had COVID and were nurses in the hospital, so you could imagine how that would make us kind of pariahs in like our social circles. And I understand people want to protect themselves. Like we would never put ourselves in situations to like get people sick, and like totally understanding of if people don't want to like be around us because of the risk level. I get that. And you're right that it was a lot earlier, and now it's kind of like gotten better, thankfully, but it's still there. I mean, my mom is a nurse, so like she N95's up and she would like hug me, but that's like her own personal choice. But I know that I didn't see my friends for like a long time, that I still can't see one of my friends because he lives with his family, and I'm not allowed at their house, period, because I'm a nurse. And even though like I have antibodies and all this stuff, like they don't want to take that risk, which I totally get. But of course it sucks because it's like I'm tired, I'm stressed out. All I want to do is be with my friends and family because they're the ones that like make me feel better. And I can't even do that because no one wants to be around me because they think I'm going to give them COVID or whatever, which I understand, but it just makes everything that much harder.
Yeah. This isn't necessarily like a please send us food. It's not like that. It's like, this is what we're going through.
Yeah, this is our reality.
This is what I see in my coworkers and myself, and it sucks. It just fucking sucks.
Yeah. I mean, it was rough because in the beginning, like I was the first one in my hospital to take a possible COVID patient. And so I took that back in March. And so, of course, I would distance myself from my friends and my family so that I wouldn't possibly get them sick because I knew that I was at risk. Then I got COVID myself and was out for 3 months. And then now I still work in the hospital. So it's just like this entire time I haven't seen so many of my friends, and a lot of my family is like, I won't go near you, which is very off-putting. Like you don't like that feeling, of course, even if you know that you've tested negative, that you're not contagious anymore, and you know all the science behind it, people will forever associate, well, you had COVID, you're dirty, we don't want to be around you, that type of thing, which I understand that it's a hard time for all of us. And people are like, well, there's not enough science or information to know, well, how long are you contagious, etc. I don't want to take any chances. Like I understand.
It's really hard not to take it personally.
Yeah, it is hard to not take it personally.
That's like a triple-edged sword. It's like you're gonna get
right?
you can't hold it, and you're gonna get poked on both ends and everything.
We got real deep and real dark out there.
It's good. I'm glad that you guys can talk. Even like just this simple conversation like this, it has therapeutic properties to it, to understand getting into somebody's mind and know that like the everyday struggle is really a struggle. It's not just a cliche term.
Yeah. I feel like people see like an Instagram post that someone in healthcare posted about how exhausted we are mentally, physically, but it's different to know that this is really what we go through every single day. And it doesn't make me feel better that, of course, like Bobbi goes through it too, but I know that all healthcare professionals are going through it. So if you are listening and you have any friends that work in the field, whether they're a phlebotomist, nurse, doctor, like physician assistant, respiratory therapist, everybody is getting hit with this. And even just, you don't have to send them money or like food, just like texting them, how are you? Asking how they're doing just goes a long way, because everyone's mental health in general in the world is taking a huge hit, but seeing it on the front lines and seeing people dying all of the time, plus all of the regular stuff that you can't do, like travel, it's a lot. And so just reaching out to your friends that work in the hospital or healthcare field is going to go a long way.
Stuff. So when you did have the chance to travel, how did that feel?
Amazing.
Getting away from the the scene for at least
really
a
nice.
long while. You also traveled too as well.
Yeah, I just got back a couple days ago.
Yeah,
we drove, but
this was literally like to schedule both of you was like right in the middle, because I believe you're also like going somewhere soon, right?
Yeah.
And you just got back, so it's like it's the perfect intersection. So what was that experience like, going and traveling and getting away for a little bit?
well, I went to a blue state, so it was nice. Everybody was like, had their mask on and super respectful of distancing, but also was very kind. Right. I mean,
where did you go, Bobbi?
I went to Colorado.
Okay, nice.
In Denver, and then Colorado Springs. But I mean, we went there to enjoy the hiking and like literally getting out of the town. Right. And so we didn't, I mean, if we went and ate somewhere, we made sure it was outside or we took it to go. So we tried to make sure that everything was still very COVID and we wore our masks and everything. But it was really nice to be surrounded by people that went out of their way to wear masks, and I felt very safe there, even among a pandemic, if that makes sense.
Did you have Little Man ice cream in Denver?
No.
No. Girl, the next time you go, you see, I should be your police.
Cathy's got all the tips. She's got all of the tips.
Yeah, let me know when that YouTube video comes out, then I'll go back and know exactly where it is.
Did it feel like a good reset though? At least, to recharge a little bit and step away from the scene. It's like even when you go and make like just a 1-day drive down to the beach and you come back, you're like, oh, I'm ready to restart the grind or whatever you're doing.
I don't want to go back tomorrow. But I also set myself up to work 6 out of the next 7 days. So.
Oh my God, that's like what I did. That's so funny.
But then I have a week off after that. So yes. Still not looking.
How about you?
So I went to Portland and I went to upstate Washington and then Northern California, but I only flew to Portland. The rest we were just driving. And I will tell you that I did not ignore the flight attendant when they were giving the safety instructions like I normally do. I'm like, girl, I'm so glad to see you. I was so happy. Because prior to this, I was traveling every 2 weeks for a year. That was like my thing. Like I was like constantly out of the country, always gone. Like I would come, make my money, and then leave again. And it was amazing. And then my last trip prior to this was in India. I went there in February for my friend's wedding, and it was fantastic. Then my trip in March, of course, got canceled to London and haven't gone anywhere since. And then 3 months out of the last 6 or whatever months we've had COVID, I've been physically in my house because I've had COVID, which was driving me freaking insane. I was like, I can't even see anybody. Like FaceTime is just not cutting it. Like, I don't know how long distance relationships like work. Like, I don't know if I could do this. Like, this is too much. So it was really nice to visit some friends up in Portland and then saw some beautiful nature, which was good for distancing. So I felt very safe. Everyone was wearing masks and all that stuff. And like, we didn't eat inside anywhere. We would just take food to go, then eat at a park. And it's just like the 3 of us. And so it was pretty chill.
It's good. Get to go back again.
Yeah, it was so nice. And then now I'm going to Northern California probably next week, going right into the fires,
Gender reveal, it's important.
Oh my God, dude. 2020 just keeps throwing anything possible. I told you, I'm waiting for the alien invasion to come in. That's the one thing. It's the one thing that I need.
I hope they name that baby zombies. Smokey the Bear.
I hope their parents face a lot of fines.
Did they ever announce if it was a girl or boy?
I saw like a clip that was like showing 2 kind of gender reveals, because this is not the first gender reveal that has started a fire, but one of them was blue smoke, and the other one was just smoke, and I was like, okay, cool.
Hey, this is 2020. Smokey could be gender neutral. So just saying.
Well, it was like that in Colorado too. Colorado is on fire as well, even though I know California is closest to us, but Colorado was on fire so bad that the giant smoke clouds from it had its own lightning.
Oh.
That's how bad it was. It was the second worst.
Oh my gosh.
Fire over there. Yeah. Yeah.
2020.
2020.
Yeah, you missed the smoke in Vegas the other day.
Was that Sunday?
It
Monday?
was like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Honestly, how the
No,
world's been going, I lost track of all the days. Everything's just day to me. Day to me. There's no prefix on it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It looks post-apocalyptic some days.
Yeah, with the red sun.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, the red sun. That was creepy.
Yeah, so creepy.
Well, it's been an hour 20.
Oh my gosh, has it really? Wow.
I hope all of our listeners out there have enjoyed this. I hope that there were no tough technical difficulties from looking at the screen. It seems fine, but I guess I'll find the wrath afterwards in the comments.
Right.
Comment below on whatever you're listening to, what you thought of this, and if there should be more live streams for the show and different combinations, mix and match the city, because we're all going to band together.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, as I usually on the show, I ask 2 questions, and I actually didn't ask these 2 questions when you guys were on the show because I didn't come up with the idea until afterwards.
Redemption episode.
So redemption, we get to do it. So we'll propose to Cathy first. The first question. The year is 2030. What is the landscape of Cathy Chao's life?
My God, I'll be 37. I want to vomit. Okay, let me just. Okay, we're good. What is that looking like? I think by then I'll probably be ready to have 1 child. I want to have kids later in life. I actually want to freeze my eggs, and this is like super like random to say, but I actually want to freeze my eggs and have kids like kind of later in life. So I think I'll probably have a child by then. Maybe be married, I guess. Like if that comes with it, sure, whatever. Be an ICU nurse still, most likely. I think I've always said to myself in some capacity, I want to be an ICU nurse, like at least working per diem, which just means like 3 days a month or something like that, to keep my skills sharp, because I feel like it's an important skill set to have. And maybe I'll be a YouTuber by then.
Hey,
Ooh.
Nurse Chao coming in.
You never know. Or maybe go back to grad school, not back, but maybe go back to school. I have considered not becoming an NP or like a nurse anesthetist. That's not something that personally interests me. But if I wanted to change courses and then possibly go into like public health or do something like that, I've played with the idea. Or public policy, healthcare reform. That might be something that I'm interested in, but who knows?
Something needed.
Yeah,
something needed.
Definitely needed.
Yeah, my mom actually had me at 38, so
okay.
Having a larger age gap or generation, it's a little tough when you're younger, but you appreciate it more as you get older. Yeah. And it's a good learning experience. And Bobbi, here's 2030. What does the landscape of Bobbi Tibbits' life look like?
No children. No children, no marriage, nice full wallet.
Oh, yeah. Amen. Can I add that to mine?
I mean, I've also dabbled with thinking about going back to school, either NP, PA, not doing nursing. Yeah, not bedside, yeah. Definitely, I'm imagining that I definitely play into the ER stereotype where I just go full adrenaline junkie. I'm probably going to end up with more piercings and tattoos.
Do it.
Yeah, traveling.
Just edgy Bobbi.
Edgy Bobbi. Listen, I get edgier each year, I think. Just
edgy Bobbi in Europe.
The ER just jades you, and so you're like, whatever, I'll tattoo my weird things. So like,
I like it.
Yeah. So that's probably gonna happen.
Okay. We're going different ends of the spectrum,
right?
On that one. I support it. And last question, we'll start with Bobbi, since we started with Cathy last time, is what does Las Vegas mean to you?
It'll probably always be home. I wasn't born here. I came here when I was 9, but I was raised in Laughlin before that. So what's the difference, really? Casinos.
It's almost an upgrade.
Yeah. Yes, that's true. That's true. Large upgrade. But I mean, I've thought about moving and doing all that kind of stuff, but it'll always be my nice heat rock, my home.
Heat rock. I haven't heard that term.
I'm a desert rat. I do not like the cold, so it'll be my nice heat rock.
Anything under 80 degrees is freezing to me.
Right?
I need a sweater.
And so, Cathy Chao, what does Las Vegas mean to you?
Well, Bobbi stole my answer because, of course, you know that term like Nevada means home. What is it?
Home means Nevada.
Home means Nevada.
That's like a song, right?
Yeah. Home means Nevada. Home means the range.
The hill.
Home means the hills, the wind and sky, something like that.
The tumbleweeds. So Vegas is home to me as well. And I'm from Northern California originally, from Fremont, which is funny because my kindergarten teacher was a Raiders cheerleader. And then now the Raiders have come here. Yeah. So I feel like it's come full circle in my life.
Yes.
And Vegas will always be home because I love to travel, but I always come back. And does that mean I'm going to live here forever? I mean, maybe not. But will I always consider this home? It's like, oh, where are you from? Well, I'm from California originally, but I was raised in Vegas. Like, Vegas is home.
Yeah.
So, yeah, home to me.
Yep, home in the heart.
That's correct.
Where can all of you listeners get involved with you? Any recommendations where to donate, help out, and last words? Start with Cathy.
Oh, I do want to say that I totally forgot that, like, I like to travel. And in 10 years from now, I'm still going to be doing that. I forgot to add that. It's been so long since I've traveled. Like, I forgot that that's, like, a huge part of, like, who I am. But whoever I marry, you know, if you're listening, future husband, I do require one fat rock. No, I'm just kidding. But I do require us to go on several trips together. So anyway, at 37, that's where I will be. Maybe with a child, or maybe I'll leave the child at home.
It's all right. Family, Cathy, and
Family
edgy Bobbi take your
yes, exactly. In Europe.
That's the next movie.
The opposite end of the spectrum, but coming together.
Yeah.
This is why even if you can't see us right now, Bobbi and I are wearing matching scrub tops. Yeah. This is
solidarity
our unity.
for nurses.
Yes, solidarity. Even though ER nurses and ICU nurses are often pitted against one another, which is really funny because we're not like, I don't know, hating each other.
Yeah.
But we're just different.
It's like a friendly competition.
No, not even that.
I felt like in nursing school, it was like, oh, ER and ICU, they're like the exact opposite.
Because they're so different is what they say. Yeah.
But like when I first started working as ER, I'm like, oh, I'm going to get flack from the ICU nurses. And then like I didn't. And we just have like the most respect for each other because we're both super critical working like that way. It's just we start, they finish. So it's like just a continuation of it's us. So I think that if anything, ICU and ER are going to be the closest.
Like besties.
Yeah.
Tight.
Yeah, absolutely. Because
we're just super messy.
And we're super clean, super nitpicky. Like all of my lines need to be organized. I can't have any mess. Like my sheets need to be perfectly straight.
And ER is like, does this work? Good. Are they alive? Great.
Send them up. And we're like, all right, we'll keep them alive. That's our job. But yeah, ER nurses and ICU nurses often, I don't want to say don't get along, but everyone's like, they're always in competition or like battling against each other, which is not true in my opinion, because I couldn't do what I do to continue the work that they start is how I see it. It's like they do so much great work to get the patient stabilized. And then from there, we take it to continue to stabilize them and then help manage them long term. And I couldn't do any of that without my ER nurses, like, you know, doing their fucking damn thing and setting our patients up. So I don't know, just mad respect to Bobbi before we end this.
I don't know, like, just because I usually spend only a couple hours with my patients and send them up, I don't know what I would do if I had to continue to spend more time with them. I'd be like, all right, long-term care, what do I do? We are nothing without each other.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Where can they follow you guys?
Oh, yes. Sorry, I was getting off track.
You're cool.
So you can find me at Nurse Chao. That is spelled nurse. I'm not going to spell it. And then CHAO, like chaos, but without the S. And I'm on Instagram and YouTube. Check out the YouTube channel because new content is coming, baby. We out here.
Hit the sub button,
you know,
subscribe.
A girl, yes, like subscribe. A girl has recovered from COVID and new content is coming because I was focusing on work, you know, rightfully so. But now that I've got that under lock and now I can focus on content again. And I have some pretty exciting things coming up, AKA a job change. I'm going to be moving, actually. You heard it here first.
Boom.
You heard it here first. I have not announced this yet on my social media. And I actually am going to become a travel nurse. And I'm going per diem at my hospital. And I'm so excited, scared shitless. If you're a travel nurse, please hit me up for some recommendations. Or if you're an insurance broker, I also need insurance. So like, let your girl know. But yeah, you heard it here first. That's what's coming.
World star.
I mean, if you're doing it, if you're traveling every 2 weeks, that's perfect for you.
Yeah.
It really is. And she's gonna make some bank.
Yes.
That fat wallet dream
Yes,
is
girl.
real.
A full ass wallet, okay? If a man doesn't buy me a fat ass rock, I'm gonna buy myself a fat ass rock, okay? Independent woman out here, yes.
Don't need no man.
That's correct. I don't need no man. I ain't got one now. I don't need no man. You know, for the child thing, we can figure that out
Is a
later.
traveling nurse, is that long term? Is there a contract you sign, or how's that
For
work?
like 3 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
It's like
Respect
periods of 3 months and you move, but you make like
but you make
twice
bank
the amount.
rolls, like 3
Yeah.
times what I'm making now for the same job, but it's just different because there's no, like, you get no FEMLA, you get no like 401k, you get no health insurance, so no PTO.
You're like a 1099 worker, independent contractor,
I think
gig
so.
worker,
I
something
think
like
so.
that.
Yeah, something like
I
that.
think you usually go through a company.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
But I'm going to California first, so
Sacramento?
maybe somewhere in NorCal. Sacramento is probably too boring.
Oh.
But maybe like maybe like Oakland, San Jose-ish area, or like San Diego. But I eventually will go to Hawaii. So if you want to come hike,
That's a good.
Let me
That's a
know.
good travel
Let me
assignment
let me
right
know.
there.
Yes, yes.
All right, got some time, so we'll have to hit you up. How about Bobbi?
Oh, very simple. At Shrimp on the Bobby,
Hey.
BOBBI, on Instagram. That's it. I sell stuff on Poshmark, but whatever.
Wait, what do you sell?
Shrimp. No, I'm
Clothes.
just kidding.
Oh, I was like, wait, what?
She sells shrimp.
She got me. I do want to say though, I'm really sad you got rid of your Twitter. I was trying to look you up the other day, and I was like, wait, where's Bobbi?
Oh yeah, I got rid of my Twitter
know.
like 2 years ago.
Fuck yeah, I was way late. It was like, this is like after our first interview. I was
okay.
trying to look you up, and I was like, wait, where's your Twitter account?
Yeah. Because Twitter only lets 15 characters for your username, so I can't be Shrimp on the Bobby. I have to be Shrimp on the Bobby. And that's just not me. I'm just kidding. I just wasn't a fan of Twitter. So
That
I
was
got
the
rid of
first sign of edgy Bobby.
it. Right.
Well, ladies, thank you guys for coming on. This was an incredible second session.
Thank you.
First
Thank you
live
for having
session.
us.
This was fun. I hope all of the listeners and live audience members enjoyed this. This will be posted on YouTube right after this, because since it'll be up, and then I'll be posting the actual episode probably Sunday or Monday.
All right.
Rock on.
Can't wait.
Yeah, so thank you guys.
Thank
Thank you for
you.
tuning
Thank
in.
you.
and,
Thank you.
Stay safe, everybody.
Yes, stay
we'll
safe.
catch you guys next time. Still on.